and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. India's Supreme Court gives Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government 8 weeks to respond to a plea seeking the restoration of Jammu and Kashmir's statehood, saying the centre must take ground realities into account. Ukraine launches dozens of drones at Russia, igniting fires in 2 southern regions, including an oil refinery, as Moscow and Washington prepare for an Alaska summit to discuss a possible ceasefire. Israel says its air defenses intercepted a ballistic missile fired by Houthis, destroying it far from the country's borders. Lawyers for the former Brazilian president Jair Bolsonaro asked the Supreme Court to acquit him as the defense arguments close in an ongoing trial over an alleged coup plot. And at least 40 people have died in Sudan's Darfur region in the country's worst cholera outbreak in years. Doctors Without Borders warn as the Northeast African nation remains torn by civil war. Hello and welcome. Starting with a tragic incident that unfolded in northern India. Cloudbursts ravaged 2 districts of Jammu and Kashmir, Kishtwar and Ganderbal. The cloudburst triggered flash floods in Kishtwar, causing devastation. The Chashoti village of the district and videos from the flood-hit parts showed rapids flowing through the hills. The incident has killed at least 20 people.
चशोती जो गांव है किश्तवाड़ में, वहां पर जो है क्लाउड ब्रस्ट हुआ है। उस क्लाउड ब्रस्ट की वजह से वहां पर जो कुछ नुकसान हुआ है, डैमेज हुआ है, तो वहां पर उस डैमेज के बाद में इमीडिएटली एसडीआरएफ, लोकल पुलिस और लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वहां पे पहुंच गया है। एनडीआरएफ टीम की भी वहां पहुंचने वाली है, आर्मी भी एक्टिवेट की गई है, एयरफोर्स भी एक्टिवेट की गई है और सभी मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज को भी एक्टिवेट किया गया है। तो वहां पर अभी जो है सर्च ऑपरेशन चल रहा है।
The village is a starting point for a pilgrimage to a Hindu temple. The floods washed away a community kitchen for pilgrims. In the rescue operations, devotees were seen being evacuated.
There has been a massive cloudburst in the area which he represents, which also happens to be possibly the route of the very popular Bachel Yatra, which takes place over there during this part of the year. And the cloudburst is of a massive scale, which could possibly lead to a substantial casualty, which is not yet been worked out. As immediately we got in touch with the district administration, and the district administration was also at a loss because it had taken everybody by surprise. They have already started moving towards the site, because the site is also difficult as far as the topography and the geographical situation and geographical location is concerned. The rescue teams have already swung into action.
The Ganderbal district witnessed a similar harrowing incident. Cloudbursts sent gushes of water down the slopes. However, no casualties have been reported so far. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condoled the deaths, adding that the situation is being monitored closely. Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha has directed the police, army and disaster response agencies to strengthen the rescue operations. The extreme weather is likely to persist in Jammu and Kashmir for a few hours, as the Meteorological Centre has issued an alert for moderate to heavy rainfall. It has also warned of thunderstorms, lightning and gusty winds for the day. It is not just Jammu and Kashmir that is witnessing increased rainfall. Monsoon is intensifying across northern India. Himachal Pradesh state was also rocked by a cloudburst, leading to flash floods in the Kinnaur district and injuring 1. Gushing water has cut off the area from the rest of the state. Meanwhile, in the Delhi National Capital Region, or the NCR, heavy rainfall brought the city to a standstill. In a rain-related accident, a tree fell on a vehicle and killed a man while injuring others. Hours of rain led to waterlogging in the city that resulted in massive traffic jams, and the weather department has issued a red alert in Delhi, predicting very heavy rains to continue. An orange alert is also in place in Uttarakhand, where heavy rain is expected until the 17th of August. Uttar Pradesh state is also on alert for heavy rain, and the state capital Lucknow had shut schools after torrential downpours inundated roads. A video showing a major road caving in has also emerged from the city. As authorities deploy resources to aid the citizens, we will continue to track all the updates and to bring them to you. And moving on, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's government is weighing major changes to its express entry immigration system. Now, these changes could open new, faster pathways to Canada for skilled professionals worldwide, especially from India. Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or the IRCC, has launched a public consultation to gather feedback on creating 3 new occupational categories for permanent residency. They include senior managers, scientists and researchers, and highly skilled military personnel to support the Canadian Armed Forces. The aim? Attract top global talent, fix critical labour shortages, and keep Canada competitive on the world stage. If approved, these categories would roll out in 2026. The consultation is open until the 3rd of September, and the final details are still under wraps. The Express Entry is a Canadian immigration system used to manage applications for permanent residence from skilled workers. Introduced in 2023, it ranks candidates through a comprehensive ranking system, or the CRS. Now, the ranking is based on factors like age, education level, work experience, and language skills. Those with the highest scores get invitations to apply, or ITAs, for permanent residency. For 2026, Canada also plans to keep priority categories such as French-speaking immigrants outside Quebec, healthcare, skilled trades, education professionals, STEM professionals, agriculture, and agri-food. International students, among which Indians form one of the largest groups, are watching closely. New categories could alter which fields qualify for the 3-year post-graduation work permit. If approved, students with relevant work experience from their home countries coming to Canada for postgraduate studies in management or STEM could find themselves eligible for ITAs for permanent residency much faster than before. In a world where immigration crackdowns are becoming the norm, Canada moves to loosen its path to citizenship, with a focus on its domestic shortage of skilled workers. Canada is already struggling to find qualified professionals across sectors. The problem has become worse due to a mismatch between available skills and job requirements, and a wave of retirements looming large. The government estimates 700,000 skilled workers will retire by the year 2028, making skilled immigrants crucial to fill the void. For India and many other countries with a strong skilled workforce, these proposed changes could open new, faster routes into Canada's job market. But much will depend on how category-based draws are structured. If implemented well, this could address Canada's labour shortages, while giving qualified professionals worldwide, including from India, a fair shot at permanent residency. And moving on, a controversial remark by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has triggered a wave of diplomatic outrage across the Arab world. Netanyahu's public endorsement of the so-called Greater Israel vision has triggered a fresh row. The concept of a Greater Israel is rooted in history, religion and politics, but fraught with modern geopolitical tensions. In a recent interview, Netanyahu was asked if he feels a connection to the vision of Greater Israel. His answer, an emphatic yes. It refers to an expanded Israel based on certain biblical or historical descriptions and interpretations that can include territories of today's Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. Netanyahu's comments supporting Greater Israel drew swift and sharp criticism across West Asia. Jordan called it a dangerous and provocative escalation, rejecting what it described as extremist illusions. Egypt demanded clarification, warning of the risk to regional stability and the peace process. Qatar called the remarks arrogant and destabilizing, reaffirming support for Arab nations' rights. And Saudi Arabia rejected what it called expansionist projects and warned the international community of broader threats. The Arab League denounced the statement as a blatant violation of Arab sovereignty, accusing Israel of clinging to colonial delusions. The Palestinian Authority joined the chorus, calling the comment a provocation that undermines the two-state solution based on the 1967 borders. The Greater Israel concept has its origins in biblical scripture, though interpretations differ. Some see it as a symbolic or spiritual notion. Others, especially in the Israeli far right, view it as a territorial goal. Critics argue it fuels a settlement expansion and disregards the rights of Palestinians and neighboring states. Proponents in far-right circles frame it as a historical entitlement. At present, the inclusion of hardline ministers in Netanyahu's coalition has brought the phrase back into public discussion. For Prime Minister Netanyahu's critics, his endorsement undercuts Israel's stated commitments to peace agreements reached painstakingly in Oslo. As the condemnation grows across the Arab world, the question remains, was this Netanyahu's symbolic nod to ideology or a signal of policy direction? And shifting focus to the growing tensions in the South China Sea, in the latest showdown between China and the Philippines, the Philippine Coast Guard said its patrol plane was intercepted by a Chinese fighter jet over the disputed waters. In a dramatic confrontation, the Filipino patrolling plane came within a radius of 500 feet of China's J-15 fighter jet, and at one point it flew directly overhead the Chinese jet. Manila accused China of conducting dangerous maneuvers.
They were also conducting an MDA flight. They experienced having been being intercepted by a Chinese fighter jet, J-15 fighter jet. Approximately, it came close as near as 500 feet. And for 20 minutes, it conducted dangerous maneuver.
The Filipino surveillance flight was carrying journalists, and it was allegedly tailed for about 20 minutes. It was monitoring the U.S. warships deployed in the South China Sea. According to the Filipino Coast Guard, it is the first time this year that its patrol flight saw this type of mid-air confrontation. However, there was no untoward incident reported. The incident followed deployment of 2 American warships near a disputed shoal. The U.S. said it had deployed guided missile destroyer, the USS Higgins, and the littoral combat ship, the USS Cincinnati. The American authorities said that these warships were shadowed by a Chinese Navy vessel. The American vessels and the Filipino plane were near the Scarborough Shoal, a disputed area claimed by both China and the Philippines. The rich fishing atoll off the northwestern Philippines often witnesses tense encounters between the two sides. The U.S. operation aimed at upholding freedom of navigation and countered China's restrictions in the disputed waters, which includes demand for entry notifications. The US operations often anger China and lead to close run-ins with its warships and aircraft. The details of the American and Filipino operation came a day after China claimed that it confronted an American warship and drove it away with a warning. Now, earlier this week, Chinese Navy and Coast Guard ships collided in the disputed waters. The collision occurred as the Chinese vessel was chasing a Filipino boat. The Philippine Coast Guard also released the video of the incident. It showed the Chinese Coast Guard ship blasting its powerful water cannon. The American ambassador to Manila, Mary Kay Carlson, has condemned the alleged reckless action by China. Now, the Philippines is a former US colony and Washington's oldest treaty ally in Asia. The US has repeatedly asserted that it is obligated to defend the Philippines if its forces come under an armed attack. Now, the growing tensions between the Philippines and China have put two global superpowers in direct conflict. This has raised concerns over increasing confrontations in the South China Sea, which is one of the key global trade transit routes. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.
First Post reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention